Hello, people. How is everyone today? I'm here today on May 1st, Beltane, May Day, International Workers' Day, to talk about my month of April. To do a review of the month of April, my favorites, decks I used, books I read, and so forth and so on. So I guess really my very most favorite thing about April was that I spent half of it in Barbados. So I was in Barbados for 2 weeks. I did a whole video on it, so check that out if you're interested. I mentioned in the video that I had the good fortune to marry someone whose family is from Barbados. So I have spent lots of time in Barbados. We have gone many, many times, to visit family. But of course, hey, what a great place to visit family because you're in the Caribbean. So that was really great. I had a wonderful time. We did a lot of mainly relaxing and visiting with family and catching up with everybody. Went to the beach, swam a lot, read a lot. So that segue is for me to talk about my books. Before we left for Barbados, we left on the 12th, April 12th. I had already read 3 or 4 books in the month of April. So I started this mystery series by Andrea Penrose. It's the Rexford and Sloane historical mystery. And it actually is set in the Regency era. So the same time period as Bridgerton. And it makes a lot of the same references as are made on the Bridgerton series. So it was just a coincidence that I happened to start that at the same time that they released the second season of Bridgerton. But I read the first 4, I think, before I went to Barbados. And now I'm almost through with the 5th one. So that's 5 books that I read in April. I also, when I was in Barbados, downloaded on my e-reader some what they call cozy mysteries. So there's a whole genre of mystery books called cozy mysteries. And to be honest, some of them can be a little lame. Like I might start reading one and just say, oh, I cannot. This dialogue is so stilted. This plot is so lame. I can't. But so I don't read a lot of cozy mysteries. I like to have a couple on hand because sometimes if I can't sleep at night, I'll pull one out and it can help put me to sleep. But there's a sort of a subset of the cozy genre called the quozy mystery. And the quozy mystery is when the protagonist is LGBTQ. So I wasn't aware of that, and I came across this online, and I thought, oh, I'm going to check this out. How great is that? So the series that I read, one of the other things that attracted me to it, other than it's a quozy, the protagonist is a mystery bookstore owner and lives on an island off the coast of Rhode Island, which is, I live in Massachusetts, but on the coast. So it's just, like kind of across Buzzards Bay. So I just thought, oh, great. So I read the first one and I kind of liked it. It was a new twist. And I told a friend of mine about it who is LGBTQ. And then we both kind of researched the author and we found out that the author, the name that the books were written under was a pseudonym. And the author is really a straight, middle-aged white lady. Well, whatever. But she's cis, straight. So, I mean, I guess if she had just written under her own name, I wouldn't have felt duped. But because she was writing sort of under the guise of being LGBTQ, I felt a little duped. And once I found that out, the series fell a little flat for me. I did read several of them because they're kind of like peanuts. You just can't stop eating them. So I read 3 of those and 2 other cozy mysteries. So that's 9. And then hardcovers that I brought with me to Barbados, I read 6. So I read 15 books in the month of April. And Laura at Aquamarine 18, if you are watching this, I want you to be very proud of me. Now, granted, they were mystery books, so it wasn't like it was anything intense or, highbrow. But still, that's the most books I've read in a month in a really long time. And I think part of it was just putting my phone away and not being distracted by all the shit on the phone. And so, lesson learned. I haven't really lost my attention span as long as I just put the phone away. So that is something that I kind of had a light bulb moment or a lightning strike moment in April. So one of the books I read was Big Little Lies. And my daughter gave me her copy of it years ago. And it's just been one of those books that I've been wanting to or meaning to read for the longest time. So I did bring it on vacation with me. And I loved it. I really loved it. Now, I am someone who reads a lot of mystery books. A lot of mystery books. And I've been reading mystery books since I was 30. So for well over 30 years, I've been reading mystery books. And this book was really clever. It was written from the perspective of multiple characters, but what you don't know is, there's been a murder, but you don't know who's been murdered. So it's almost like instead of trying to figure out who did it, you are trying to figure that out, but you're also trying to figure out not only who did it, but who got murdered. So it was really clever. It touched on a lot of social issues too. Domestic violence, single motherhood, classism, looksism, and I really appreciated that. So now I can go on and watch the miniseries because I've heard that the acting is really good. So that's going to be next on my TV watch list. In terms of nonfiction, the only book that I read, and I haven't finished it yet, is this Understanding the Court Cards by Mary K. Greer and Tom Little. And the jury's out on this one. I'm not sure how much it's going to really help me with the courts, but we'll see. As I said, I'm not even halfway through, so to be fair, I haven't really given it, a go. I mean, I'm giving it a go, but, I haven't gotten fully into the meat of it. So because I brought this book with me to Barbados, my intention was to finish it, but I was just too busy reading mindless mystery books to get into a lot of the tarot court. So I brought a couple decks with me to Barbados specifically to use with this court card book. And the first one I brought was this one, Tarot de Maria Celia. This is by Leonard Jim Narciso. He also created the Vanessa Tarot, which is a tarot that I really quite like. Really whimsical, really great, great tarot deck. So anyway, these are the quartz. It's Marseille based, and I am not a super student of Marseille. This is really one of the only true Marseille decks that I have, and it's not even, you know, a historical deck. So here's the court cards. Is there anything you're noticing about these court cards? Because they all look alike. They're all blonde. I'm like, how do you get anything from these courts? They all look the same. I mean, I guess their gaze is going in different directions. And to be honest, I haven't gotten into spreads, even if there are spreads in this court card book. I was mainly doing the exercises, you know, picking out who you relate to the most, your nemesis, all this stuff. And so maybe doing readings with this, and you can see which way they're facing or what card they're looking at or whatever might be a little different. But I just was like, no. 16 blonde people with weird faces and weird eyes. No. So the second deck I brought with me to use with this book is my Old Faithful Gaian. And so the Gaian, I just can relate to these court cards so much more than those blonde, weird-looking Tarot de Marseille people. So in the Gaian Tarot by Joanna Powell Colbert, we have Child, Explorer, Guardian, and Elder. So it's more like ages and stages of life. So here we see, I'm just going to go through. You've seen these before if you've ever watched my channel. But look at these people. These people are so much more meaningful to me than a bunch of blonde people that all look the same. So anyway, I ended up the exercises that I did in the court card book by Mary Greer. I did use the Gaian and not the Tarot de Maria Celia. So anyway, those were two of the decks that I worked with this month, and those were the books that I read this month. I also read a book called, Big Little Lies, and then one of the other books I read was Secrets and Lies, and it's actually by Stacey Abram. We have in the next town over from me, this bookstore just had its year anniversary. It's a Black woman-owned bookstore, and so she carries a lot of authors of color. So it's great. I love to support local independent bookstores, and to be able to have a bookstore that carries authors of color, mainly is really fantastic. I didn't even know that Stacey Abrams had a pseudonym and had been writing mystery. I thought they were mystery books. So it was called, as I said, Secrets and Lies. Started off pretty good. And then all of a sudden I realized, is this a mystery book? I mean, it was, but apparently she also does romance. And I am so not into romance books. And there was a little bit, the two protagonists, a male and a female. Oh, his body, his face, she's long legs, her hair. And I'm just like, I just want the mystery part. But anyway, so I did read this book by Stacey Abrams, and I don't know if all the books that she's written are these romancy things. I'm going to have to look into that. So, more decks. So this was another deck I brought with me. It's the Albano Weight deck, and I used a 2-inch hole punch to make this into a round deck. I was inspired by the lovely Veronica Jude, who is like sort of the queen of altering decks, in my opinion. She's full of great ideas of what to do with decks. So anyway, a few years back, I did talk to V about doing this, and so I brought this deck with me because it's small. So, and I have this little teeny pouch that it fits perfectly in. And one of the fun things about squaring or rounding a deck is to figure out which parts of it which part of the card you're going to leave in. And it just makes you think about, okay, what is important to me on this card? And how does this card speak to me? What parts of it do I want to leave in? And what parts of it am I okay with not keeping in? So anyway, that was the deck that I did my daily draws with in Barbados. And then another deck that I brought with me was this Oracle of the Roses. A friend of mine had sent this to me as a gift for my birthday. My birthday is the end of March. And so I brought this with me, and I started to use this for a few days. Each day I used it. I would draw one for me and one for my husband. So that was kind of fun. And then we would compare, which cards we got and look in the guidebook. So that was fun. So I want to talk to you guys now about my card of the month. So this was my card of the month, the 3 of Cups. I did a year ahead spread in January 1st, and I wrote down, I made like a circle, and I put the cards in the months, and I did seasonal cards as well. But anyway, so I looked in my notebook and said, oh, great, April, the 3 of Cups. Wow, great. Oh, I love the 3 of Cups. I even went so far as to pull out the 3 of Cups from other decks and kept those out on my altar just to kind of have that energy of the 3 of Cups. But to be honest with you, even though I was on vacation and was in Barbados for 2 months, I just wasn't feeling very 3 of Cups this month. We had to, we lost our older dog, Rusty, in March. He passed away, and that just was following me into April, my heartbreak from that. And so I just wasn't feeling this 3 of Cups energy at all. And I shouldn't say at all, but I just was kind of like, yay, it's going to be a 3 of Cups month. And I had a wonderful time in Barbados, but my heart is still heavy from the loss that we experienced in March, and it's not going to go away overnight. So anyway, I was pulling out my notebook or journal to see what my card for May is. And I looked again at the April card, and I went, holy shit, that's not a 3, it's an 8. So really my card of the month for April was the 8 of Cups, not the 3 of Cups. And I don't know what to do, because it's not like I can, spin the wheel of time and go back to April 1st and say, okay, this is really an 8 of Cups month. But it really did feel much more like this to me than like this to me. So that's kind of interesting. And I just figured this out yesterday. So I'm going to have to really sit on this. If any of you have any ideas or thoughts about this, about how I can address this or redress it or revisit having the wrong card of the month out all month, and I'd love to hear your comments or your thoughts or your ideas. I mean, I don't know. Lately, I've been really kind of doing true confessions about my sanguine Aries sun nature, and some of my kookiness. And I guess this sort of speaks to that. So anyway, that is something that I'm going to have to, I don't know what I'm going to do about that, but I will be writing in my journal, I guess, about that. And I just, oh man. So this brings me to herbs, and I don't know if you can see how green this is. This is Nettle Tea. And nettles will grow really tall. In my patch in my back, woodlands there in the back of our yard, it can grow taller than I am. Of course, I'm only 5'2", so that's not saying much. But even so, it can get really tall. Now it's about maybe this tall, a foot tall in my backyard. And so when we got back from Barbados, I right away went out to check on the nettles. And it's ready. And so every day since we've gotten back, I've made a big pot of Nettle's tea. I'm drinking this one cool, room temperature more or less. It's good. It's earthy. It's, oh, I almost want to say salty. I mean, it's not, but something sort of, it's minerally. That's what it is. It's full of minerals and vitamins. And nettles is one of those herbs that in the herbal world we think of as a spring tonic. It comes up even where I live, and I'm zone 6-ish. So we have a fairly long lasting winter, but even where I live, nettles are starting to pop up the end of March, and definitely by the middle of April, they're sprouting up enough to start collecting. So they really are a wonderful herb to make into a tea for this time of year, because as I said, they are packed full of minerals and vitamins. And back in the day, before we had grocery stores and we could have fruits and vegetables and whatever we wanted year round, over the course of the winter, people were often relegated to just having beef jerky and very limited, maybe some rice or something. Well, I guess not in New England, not rice, but corn. So, there was a very limited amount of food to eat. And so by the time spring rolled around, our bodies were depleted and we needed a blast of minerals and vitamins. And so nettle and also dandelion were wonderful herbs to replenish any of the minerals and minerals and vitamins that we lost over the winter. Nettle is also wonderful for seasonal allergies, which again happens at this time of year. So nettle is my herb for April, and I will be bringing her into May as well. So that's my herb. And then my crystal for April was citrine. And this is a beautiful, amazing, and incredible citrine. It almost looks like a smoky quartz, but it's not. It's citrine. I got this beautiful citrine from Patrick at the Living Wheel, Patrick Fogarty, and I adore it. I love it. Anyway, the reason that was my crystal in April was because of this deck, Threads of Fate Shadow Edition. And I have mentioned this in many videos recently, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but this was the card that I pulled at the beginning of April. And I thought it was so great. Right after spring equinox, this burst of it looks like a big Ace of Wands, a burst of fiery, passionate, creative energy, power. So I thought it was perfect for the time of year that I pulled it. So I did leave it up on my altar. But in this deck, each of the cards, well, at least the four suits, the earth, air, fire, water, those four suits, the card, so this one is power. It has a little blurb about power. Then it has a little exercise for you to do related to power. And then it has an animal. So each card has each entry into the guidebook has a animal, an herb, and a crystal. And so for the power card, the crystal is citrine. So I pulled this citrine out and put it on my altar. And that became my crystal for the month of April. So here is what it says. Citrine is all about getting things done. It strengthens our determination, will, and ability to bring our ambitions into physical form. Its fiery energy clears our power center of any feelings of unworthiness and encourages us to take action. Call upon citrine when you need help clearing any blockages around abundance, success, taking action, and personal power. And again, for the spring equinox and that Aries season, I just thought, well, how perfect is that card and that crystal? So, we've now since moved into Taurus, and today is Beltane. So I'm moving on. The wheel is turning and I'm moving on, and I'll pull another card or I'll choose another crystal to work with in May. One last thing I wanted to talk about. So this is Heal Your Heart Healing Mist. It's a mister that I make myself, and I'm not trying to sell it to you. I'm just saying that because I had such a heartbreak in March, loss of our beloved Rusty, I pulled this out, and I have been using this on a regular basis. So this Heal Your Heart spray has rose flower essence that I make myself from beach roses that grow in my yard, rose quartz gem essence that I make myself, and rose essential oil. So you have this vibration from the rose flower essence and the rose quartz gem essence, and then that fragrance and the energy of the rose essential oil. And it is so wonderful for heart healing. I can't mention enough how much and how helpful this is. And it smells so good, the rose. Anyway, this is something that I have been using in April and will continue to use as I move forward and on my healing journey. And it does take time, doesn't it? One thing that Bob, my husband, said to me right after Rusty passed was, no matter how many times you do this, it never gets any easier. And that's the truth. It never does it? Anyway, that is my April. I really had some wonderful decks to work with, and I read some great books, and I have to figure out what I'm going to do about the wrong card for the month of April. But anyway, again, if you have any thoughts on that, please do let me know. So I hope you all had a wonderful April, and let me know what decks and books and so forth you used and you enjoyed. And I'm wishing everyone a really happy and joyous and creative and passionate and abundant Beltane. I'm going to go over to my sister's tonight, and a bunch of us are going to have a little bonfire and do a little Beltane ritual. So anyway, bright Beltane blessings to you all.